First-time visitors may just want to hit the highlights in England, such as Westminster Abbey or shopping at Knightsbridge in London, and perhaps visit a university town or a day trip to Stonehenge. Return visitors might opt to explore some of the other great places to visit in England which are further from London. Travellers can head south into the Cotswolds, where 14th century villages will have you saying goodbye to modern conveniences. Continue to the coast to discover charming harbour towns and begin your journey down the Jurassic Coast. You could go north to discover the stunning valleys and rolling peaks of the Lake District. Or the city of Liverpool, whose renewed waterfront and the tunes of the Beatles will take centre stage in your time there. Number 17. Norwich. One renowned saying about Norwich still rings true, that there must be a church for every week of the year, but a pub for every day. Beer and churches go hand in hand in Norwich. You'll see plenty of both as you explore one of England's most intact medieval cities. Old-time streets take you by dozens of churches from over 500 years ago. Many are now museums or galleries, such as the Norwich Arts Centre. The most striking, though, is the Norwich Cathedral. A booming organ often rings within, but the facade and beauty of its windows will have you hooked long before. To fuel up, head to the Norwich market for a mix of artisanal baked goods and monstrously delicious meat sandwiches. You can burn it all off on a ride down to the coast to see the Broads, one of England's best coastlines. Number 16. Dartmoor National Park. Myths and legends shroud Dartmoor National Park, making it far more than simply protected lands. In England's southwest, Dartmoor is a captivating landscape set on the brim of ancient volcanic action. Trails spread like roots throughout the park. These are accessible also by bicycle and horseback. Throughout, you'll stumble across centuries-old ruins, historic castles, and some head-scratching stone circles. One of the best hikes here is the Hound Tor Circular. This easy loop guides you by rugged freestanding outcrops, which have become the stuff of legend and wild ponies, before wandering through the Hound Tor medieval village. There are ample wild camping spots in the national park. However, so much human history is here, including 20 castles. So you can expect charming towns nearby, such as Chagford. Number 15. Canterbury. In southern England, Canterbury is laden with sightly cathedrals, medieval alleys, lush waterfront gardens, and historic walls. This is all matched by the serene riverfront, great food, and even a beautiful beach. But it's the cathedrals that'll take up the bulk of your exploring. It begins at the heart of the city at Canterbury Cathedral. One of the oldest in the country, it was here that the subject of King Henry II murdered Archbishop Becket in 1170. The stained windows and Gothic spires still stop you in your tracks 850 years later. With the cathedrals done, you can explore the Westgate Gardens. One of the nation's oldest parks, it's soaked with grandeur, with colourful flowers, the Victorian Tower House and the meandering River Stour. The latter is best explored on a punting boat. Number 14. St. Michael's Mount. Like a scene out of a fairy tale, St. Michael's Mount stands across the water waiting for a hero. The last bit of that sentence isn't accurate, but you get the picture. Crowned by a medieval castle and church, you can arrive at St. Michael's Mount via a short boat ride. At low tide, you may even be able to walk across. On the island lies the Auburn family and a small community that keeps alive centuries of history. Some buildings date back to the 11th century and tales of the past lie around every corner. That includes the legend of Jack the Giant Killer. Exploring the streets is riveting, as are the subtropical gardens that offer views back to Cornwall. Number 13. Liverpool. The city of Liverpool lived through the rise and fall of the 20th century. It's come out the other side rich with the memories of the Beatles and that same cheeky character that has always made Liverpool fun. The Liverpool skyline has been immortalized in song. But you must see it for yourself while you're here. There are several ways to do it. 1. By journeying down the Mersey, spotting its best sights along the way, including Wallasey Town Hall and the Victoria Tower. The other is from the Royal Liver Building. In the atmospheric pierhead, the tower has clock faces bigger than Big Ben. From the top, You can see forever. Now that you have your bearings, go on a Beatles tour or take in one of the many great museums, from the Merseyside Maritime Museum to the International Slavery Museum, the latter diving into Liverpool's role as a bustling port. Number 12. Lake District. Home to England's largest national park, the Lake District in Cumbria has always struck visitors as hauntingly beautiful. It inspired dozens of novels in the era of Romanticism, with its rolling hills and fields being both captivating and eerie. In the heart of the region lies the Lake District National Park. Here, depending on the time of year, you'll find triangular ridges draped in green and granite. They fall to fields bright with wildflowers. From a viewpoint, you'll see shimmering lakes in great numbers. Down in the valley, Windermere sits on miles of lakefront, while nearby Hawkshead is another gateway to nature but also the home of Beatrix Potter. Number 11. Chester. The heart of Chester can rightfully lay claim to being one of the best-looking town centres in England. Black and white timbered townhouses flank cobbled streets, dancing in between dark sandstone buildings. Then there's the encasing of Roman walls to top it all off. Travel here starts at the Rose, where you can find the aforementioned arcade of Victorian and Tudor buildings. This stretch showcases Chester at its height in the Middle Ages, when it was one of the Northwest's most prominent port towns. But it only gets better. The Chester Cathedral dates back to the 1100s and has maintained much of its original appeal. Then there's the Roman amphitheatre, which is argued to be the site of Camelot and the Knights' Round Table. Number 10. Bristol. The city of Bristol, filled to the brim with creativity, is the birthplace of one of the world's most famous modern-day artists. Banksy grew up on the streets of Bristol. You can see some of his works here, as he was no doubt inspired by Bristol's burgeoning street scene. The colourful streets of Bristol welcome you with open arms. Nowhere is this more obvious than Stokes Croft. Artist cafes, eccentric pubs and vintage shops line the streets splashed with murals and personality. But beyond the counterculture is a historic harbour home to the SS Great Britain. The ship is wide open to visitors to explore much of the original design from 1856. Bristol is set along the Avon River. This is where you can find another piece of memorable engineering, the Clifton Suspension Bridge. The design of this bridge is matched only by the stunning sight. Number 9. St. Ives. One of England's most picturesque port towns, St. Ives in Cornwall, is the country's great beachfront escape. On a sunny English day, yes, they happen, the baby blue waters of St. Ives glisten. The white sand leads your eyes towards the banks and the 18th century homes topped by orange roofs. It's a place you immediately want to explore. Kick it off with a wander of St. Ives Harbour. Brightly coloured fishing boats are already back from the morning trek and now dot the shoreline. Continue past the golden sands of Porthgwydden Beach towards the Chapel of St. Nicholas. The latter's historic confines link to the smuggling of the Napoleonic Wars. Yes, the sun's shining, but the Atlantic coast winds can still be bristling. Grab a traditional Cornish pasty to balance it out. Now full of energy, check out the town's arts and culture scene at Tate and the Barbara Hepworth Museum. Finish the day off with a dip and a dinner by the sea. Number 8. The Cotswolds. The epitome of the English countryside, the Cotswolds are the height of Romanticism. From Bath to Stratford-upon-Avon, this region is punctuated with lush landscapes, honey-coloured villages and mouth-watering cuisine. Historic cottages, a scene out of a Renaissance painting, welcome you at every turn. In front of them, landscaped gardens roll forward and are cut off only for equally pleasant canals. You could spend a week exploring each area in great detail. But the highlights of the Cotswolds are Bibury and Stow-on-the-Wold. Charm seeps from every crevice in both these towns. They're a treasure trove of history and evoke the mystical. That's never more clear than along Arlington Row in Bibury. Forget the white picket fence. These limestone buildings from the 1300s are the stuff of societal dreams. Beyond, let your car and the open road guide you to the best of Bath, the Westonbirt Arboretum, Blenheim Palace and the Abbey House Gardens. Number 7. Bath. Bath got its name because that's what it was when it was founded by the Romans in 60 AD. Today it is a culturally rich city, home to Bridgeton and, of course, the famous Roman baths. But when you look beneath the surface, you'll discover just how much depth Bath has. Geothermic springs spring from the underground here in Bath. The Romans were the first to tap into this natural phenomenon. It marks the start of the Bath you see today. You can discover the Roman baths, its history and sumptuous courtyards. Balance this with a modern experience with a rooftop dip at Thermi Bath Spa. Aside from plenty of Roman touches, you can discover eye-catching Georgian architecture in Bath. The British version of the Italian Renaissance style, you can discover the height of this at the Royal Crescent. A prominent backdrop in Bridgeton, the crescent arches around a sprawling terrace and sightly lawn. Go further by visiting the very first Royal Crescent Museum. Number 6. Cambridge. Like Oxford below, Cambridge is a delightful mix of historic educational institutions, a rhythmic waterfront and ample medieval architecture. Although famous for King's and Trinity colleges, these institutions share a slightly lower profile among travellers. Those interested will do well to take advantage of the lower crowds to explore magnificent campuses. That includes the enormous quadrangle that envelopes Trinity College and the marvellous King's College Chapel. The chapel is embellished with a Gothic touch and strikes a presence in Cambridge's skyline. From the 1500s, it features some elaborate wood carvings, captivating stained glass and the world's largest fan-vaulted ceiling. Arguably the best way to see Cambridge, however, is to punt your way down the Cam. The water guides you by the best of medieval Cambridge and under some sightly college bridges. You'll have to get back on land to see some great museums, though. Be sure to add Kettle's Yard and the Fitzwilliam Museum to the itinerary. Top it all off with a pub crawl along Mill Road for a quintessential Cambridge experience. Number 5. Jurassic Coast. England has no shortage of human history. But its Jurassic Coast offers a different take, one of the natural variety. A journey to discover this stunning coastline and her magical rock formations is really a journey back 185 million years. The Jurassic Coast is England's solitary natural World Heritage Site. It spans 95 miles from Exmouth to Studland Bay. The ragged, rolling cliffs grow ever larger as the crashing waters, wind and rain sculpt the mix of clay and limestone. Within these sedimentary cliffs lie the fossils of dinosaurs preserved in ever-changing geologic phenomena. Charmouth is the best place to find fossil. Beyond the cliffs, there are several spots to take a refreshing dip. You'll get great views of the wild coast from Warbarrow Bay, Chapman's Pool and the thrilling Dancing Ledge. As it's still England, there's plenty of charm and human history. You can jump aboard the historic Seaton tramway, or settle in for a cozy night in the small, idyllic town of Branscombe. Number 4. Oxford. Modern charm, historic universities and a tipple of medieval fun can be found in Oxford. The River Thames flows through the town, creating an abundance of waterfront splendour. This is exacerbated by canals which run busy with relaxing sunset cruises. The University of Oxford, however, deserves to be front and centre of your experience here. One of the world's most celebrated universities, it's a marvel to explore. Tours take you through the leafy quads on your way into iconic halls and chapels that have welcomed students for almost 1,000 years. Naturally, you'll also discover world-class museums, such as the Ashmolean. Beyond the neoclassical facade is the country's oldest public museum. More Harry Potter fun can be had at King's Cross Station, Divinity School and Knockturn Alley. You'll also have the chance to explore Churchill's birthplace at the remarkable Blenheim Palace before seeing the city from a different angle along its glistening river. Number 3. York. For several years in the 3rd century, the otherwise unassuming city of York was the capital of the Roman Empire. But utterly captivating neighbourhoods mix with famous landmarks and a dash of Harry Potter to create one of England's must-see cities. Rewards lie around every corner in York, for those travellers that simply like to wander and discover. From the Romans and Vikings to the Industrial Revolution, every significant era left a piece of themselves in York. It's as if the city was an open canvas and they filled it in. Cobbled streets guide you by the York Minster. Here, you can walk up 275 steps by stained glass from the medieval era to the best view in town. From the top, you'll admire the kaleidoscope array of rooftops. There's no better spot to wander through than the Shambles, the inspiration for Diagon Alley. Afterwards, walk the city walls that lead to genuine medieval bars for a well-earned pint. Number 2. Stonehenge and Aery. Taking you back 5,000 years to the Neolithic period, both Stonehenge and Aery are unforgettable sights. Both represent a deep dive into early cultures and showcase just how much time has passed. After all, we are much closer to the height of the Roman Empire than they were to the construction of the mesmerizing stone circles. Both of these sites are under separate management. However, they're close enough that you can explore both in a single day. Time spent here is time out in the beautiful Wiltshire countryside, shaped by thousands of years of human history. But with no written remarks, both circles lay shrouded in mystery. It's certainly part of the appeal. The number of annual Stonehenge visitors averages 1 million per year. It's well worth braving the crowds, however, to see these crafted stones up close. The pros of Aery lie in just how close you can get to the stones. Aside from it being free to visit, the space lies open to visitors, allowing you to explore, touch and get as many angles for the best photos. Number 1. London. Exciting, historic and inspiring, London is an international city that is still oh so very British. A bustling downtown quickly spreads into adorable and colourful neighbourhoods. Both are well connected by the city's famed tube, an expansive subway system. This allows you to get around with ease before you consider the iconic black taxis or double-decker buses. There's an endless list of things to do in London. One can find themselves on the South Bank crossing a myriad of historic and modern bridges. Both lead to celebrated sites like the Big Ben, the Tower of London and even Shakespeare's Globe. Popular markets are littered in between, providing an insightful crossroads between travellers and locals. As the sun falls, the city lights shine on the River Thames and the bright, spinning wheel of the eye captures your attention. But believe us, there's much more to do. A night out on the town in Soho leads to a slow morning in Hyde Park. The nearby Buckingham Palace changes its guards to great fanfare before you choose between a litany of great shopping streets and even better museums.